And today we have somebody really special on with us podcast. It is Komal Narsinghani. She's a dedicated therapist, a felicitator and wellness coach with over 20 years of experience, transitioning from HRM to mental health in 2017. What did you dream of becoming really?
Oh, I thought of so many things. So I remember my favorite play was Teacher, Teacher. I lived in a joint family and I would have my cousins and, I would always be ready with like this, like a dupatta which looked like a sari and then teaching everybody. Totally.
So why not go for therapy?
Totally.
It's talk therapy.
Yeah,
it helps.
Yeah. Sometimes when you see your children struggling, okay, that they feel they are not made for this, they feel they can't do that, and therapy can definitely change
Logic or intuition?
intuition, but with logic as well.
Wonderful. That's like a good one. Meditation or music?
For me, music is meditation.
Beautifully said. Books or podcasts?
Books for sure, my first love,
Yes.
but podcasts definitely something I enjoy.
Wonderful. Welcome to Beyond Marks podcast. It's a conversational series inspired by my book, Unstuck. Here we're going to have conversations with educators, experts, mentors, parents, students, teens, and teachers, and we'll find out what actually defines success for teenagers, for young adults, in fact, for everybody. And today we have somebody really special on with us on the podcast. It is Komal Narsinghani. Welcome, Komal, to the podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. And to tell you more about Komal, she's a dedicated therapist, a felicitator and wellness coach with over 20 years of experience, transitioning from HRM to mental health in 2017. Komal has a PG diploma in counseling psychology from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. And she is also a Reiki master, a clinical musician, and has a deep understanding of Buddhist psychology. So many hats, Komal. And Komal's approach is holistic, emphasizing that there is no one size that fits all. And there is for solutions for happiness, health, and productivity. So, Komal, we are so happy to have you here today with us.
Thank you.
So, beyond all these qualifications, what is the real Komal? We would really love to know that.
So, beyond, of course, qualifications, those are just pieces of
Yes.
paper. The real me is just here, me as you see, someone who's deeply passionate about almost everything that she does, be it being a woman, being a parent, being a psychologist, a therapist, and a very, very spiritual being. So that's what really makes me. And I feel I'm a work in progress, and I always will be till my last breath.
Wonderful, wonderful. So good to hear that. Also, Komal, what is that one life experience that shaped the person you are today?
So, well, as you know, that I wasn't always a mental health professional, and I think my early life experiences and then midlife battling with clinical depression for about I think undiagnosed clinical depression for about 3 years is what further increased my quest to understand who I am, what is it that I am looking for, what is it that moves me, and what is my purpose of life. And I think that was the turning point in my life, and that's what makes me who I am today.
Amazing. It's
Yeah.
such an amazing journey that
Yeah.
you're sharing
Yeah.
with us. Komal, also when you were a child, what did you dream of becoming really?
Oh, I thought of so many things. So I remember my favorite play was Teacher, Teacher. I lived in a joint family and I would have my cousins and, I would always be ready with like this, like a dupatta which looked like a sari and then teaching everybody. Then I moved on to wanting to be a fashion designer. And then I did like pretty decently in my graduation, and that's when I thought I'll do an MBA and all of that. But I always knew I want to do something which is related to people.
Absolutely. Awesome. Amazing. Also, did you always, you just said that you knew that you wanted to always work with people. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Why do so many, that brings us to this question that there's so many people who are still struggling with happiness and fulfillment. Why do you think that is happening?
Yeah. So, and I think, so what we see is generally just the tip of the iceberg. What looks like success, what looks like, reaching on the top and finally feeling that, this person has arrived, this person has everything. And yet, you don't know what's behind that success. And I think, you never judge a book by its cover. And when you see success, of course, one could be purely passionate success. The other aspect could be just a lifelong struggle, which is actually survival, where, success is not a destination. It is like you've reached and now what next? You've reached and what next? Because success is not about happiness. Success is about you finding your validation, your identity through that success. And that generally comes from when in your growing up years, you experienced conditional love, that only if you do well, you're worthy of love. Or praise came with good behavior. Responsibilities came early on life. There was a lot of emotional burden where you should have been taken care of, but you had to be the caregiver.
Oh my God.
And I think that's what when, success sometimes looks like, where it is turned upside down.
Yes.
So it looks like success, but it's actually survival.
Wonderful. So this is such an important thing,
Yeah.
and so many of us don't even know this bit about
Yes,
success.
yeah.
So, that brings us to our next
Yeah.
question, Komal, which is a very important one. What are some of the silent signs that teens may be struggling emotionally?
So, often I've observed that I feel something is not right, or signs to watch out for are when someone who's generally, happy-go-lucky, socializing,
Yes.
suddenly doesn't want to go down to play or doesn't want to go out for those parties that are happening. So, there is a social withdrawal. Sometimes it could be, just panic or nervousness before exams, before even not just exams, but even when there's a project submission or there's a homework that has come in, etc., where there is a lot of irritability, where someone is generally calm, but suddenly you see irritability.
Okay.
And also, you could see a change in their sleep cycles, either oversleeping, undersleeping, or in their appetite. So a lot of these are actually very they're very silent. You may not really understand.
Yes.
So it's always nice to check in with your teenagers as to, how are you feeling? Is everything well? Do you want to talk about something? So
Absolutely. And you're right, so many of these signs would just be,
Yeah.
we would overlook them
Yes.
because maybe the person is tired, maybe
yes.
there's just the moods or something.
And generally you blame it on the hormones, like
Yes,
puberty, adolescence
also,
is a time
also.
where genuinely changes are happening. So I think one has to just be aware, be in touch. That's the only way you will get it. And be in
Absolutely.
communication.
Yeah, so that's what is very important. Parents, be in communication.
Yeah.
Keep talking to your teens. Also, what do you wish schools taught children about emotional well-being? Because I feel that's one thing that's completely being ignored by the schools.
Yeah. So yes, there are a few steps, but not enough, definitely. If I had to start a school, or if I had, my whatever fantasy of a school which would be really safe, would be where emotional intelligence is not taught as a subject but as a life skill, where caring is not just a part of your morals, but a part of just being a human being, where you are taught to express your emotions without worrying about being judged for them,
absolutely.
where there are actual coaching given on how does one become resilient, how does one deal with stress, and how does one feel enough and not compare yourself to everyone around.
And I think it's very important because
Yeah.
these are things that if this is in place, everything else will fall in
Absolutely.
place.
Yes,
And this is what
yes.
I've written in my book also.
Yeah.
The points that you've talked about
Yeah.
are exactly what teens usually, these are the challenges that they're facing.
Right.
Because when I ask them what are your 3 biggest
Yeah.
fears in
Yeah.
life or things that you find challenging,
Yeah.
they say that I feel I'm not enough. I compare myself with other people. There is a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
There is a fear of being alone is another thing that they
Yeah.
talk about,
Yes.
which is so
Yes.
sad because we are surrounded by people, but
Yeah.
it's not a lack of people, but it's lack of connections.
Absolutely.
And our teenagers are feeling
Yes.
that. So there's
Yes.
somewhere we are not, as an institution and as parents, I think we're all there's so much to learn and
Yeah, I think the first part about learning comes later. There's first so much to unlearn and then
unlearn.
learn.
Absolutely, very well said. So much to unlearn and then learn. You know, so has mental health awareness gone too far now? You know, if I ask about it, leading to self-labeling and victimhood. Either it's not happening, or in
Yeah.
the cases where it's happening, is it also being taken? Is it being exploited in terms of, you know, I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
an issue or something
Yeah.
like that? If people say that,
Yeah. So, a very, very valid question. And yes, there is definitely an increase in awareness with respect to mental health, with respect to mental disorders, like how, you know, you have a name for when you're warm, which is fever.
Yes, yes.
You also have a name for when you're not feeling very happy, which is depression. You know, of course, the
Absolutely.
degrees would vary.
Absolutely.
So, the vocabulary is more popular now. But with awareness, what needs to come is responsibility,
Yes.
which I feel is not, at par with the awareness.
Yes,
And hence, a lot of teenagers are using clinical terms to describe how they are feeling. Oh my God, this teacher gives me a lot of trauma, or oh my God, 10th standard is so depressing,
Absolutely,
etc.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
whilst it's great that you're identifying your emotions and you're aware what's happening, but it's not right that you're using clinical terms,
So
because
flippantly.
you don't know what someone is going through when they're actually
Absolutely.
dealing with these disorders.
So well said, because I see that happening so often where, you know, this person is depressed, or are you autistic?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I am just feeling autistic.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
flippantly used.
Yes,
And
yes.
it should not be, because it
Yeah.
also shows a little bit of an insensitivity towards the whole
Absolutely,
thing.
absolutely.
Yes, anxiety is, I think, it's one of it's word of the millennium.
Yeah.
Millennium. No, just
Yeah,
use it.
yeah.
Everybody's feeling anxious,
Yeah,
and you don't know
yeah,
what degree. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a very valid point that you've
Yeah.
raised. Also, is therapy becoming a necessity, or is it becoming a trend?
So definitely, being in this profession for a good amount of time now, I still don't think it's becoming a trend. It is a necessity rather than becoming a necessity. I wish people would understand that therapy is not about, something being wrong with me. We all know, we all talk about preventive health, So generally, when it's preventive health, you just associate that with your physical health, but you completely leave out mental health. Whereas all your physical ailments are a manifestation of unprocessed stressors that one is carrying. So that makes mental health an absolute mandate, So I feel, coming back to your question, that I feel people should not look at mental health or therapy in a stigmatized way, which is changing with the younger generation. I see a lot of youngsters who take pride that, oh, I am seeing a therapist, and there's no shying away from it. So I think there is enough awareness now, and rather than waiting for something to really push you off and take you over the edge, it's always nice to seek help, talk to someone,
Yes,
also for
absolutely.
discovering yourself, your
Yes, I agree.
untapped potential, and just for increasing self-awareness.
Yes, very well said. You know, in fact, I feel, and I strongly feel
Yeah.
this. It should actually be normalized.
Absolutely.
Like going to a dentist, right?
Absolutely.
If we
Yeah.
go to a dentist every 6 months,
Yeah.
going to a therapist perhaps every second month
Absolutely.
should be made mandatory.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Sometimes it's just behavioral tweaks that I
Yeah.
might need
Yes,
to perform
yes,
better,
yes.
to understand myself
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Where self-awareness has become such a big tool, because it is self-awareness leads to self-confidence.
Totally.
So why not go for therapy?
Totally.
It's talk therapy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it helps.
yeah, yes.
So I wish we would really see this change
yeah,
soon.
Yeah, and I want to tell all the parents who are, listening to us that sometimes when you see your children struggling, it's because of their limiting beliefs, okay, that they feel they are not made for this, they feel they can't do that, and therapy can definitely change that, the way that they view themselves, and they realize that the only person stopping stopping me from being successful is me myself. So
Wonderful. You know, in fact, the next question is on self-worth, and which
Okay.
is what I want to talk about, because it is a game changer for
Yeah.
sure. You know, so in my book Unstuck, I talk about how many young people get trapped in the belief that their worth is tied to their achievements.
Yeah.
Right now, why do you think so many students equate marks to their self worth?
Yeah. So I think it starts from your environment first. That is, it all starts from parenting in terms of where, the first time that you got good marks or the first time that you did not get good marks. What was said to you when you got good marks was like, oh, you're such a good child, and keep it up, and you should always study like that,
Yes.
etc. Or when you did not get good marks, what was said to you that, you're not good, this is not good enough. You wanted that cycle, right? You've got to earn it. That the only way you're going to get that is when you get those marks. And when it's not about what was said by the parent, but it's all about how it was received by the child.
Yes.
And that is what changes. So if they heard it like, I am worthy of love only if I do well. I am worthy of love only if I'm a good boy or a good girl. And that label, of being good is something that is internalized. Then that's going to, constantly stay with them, and it's going to be attached to their self-worth. So good marks is equal to, oh, I am worthy. I'm worthy of being, having friends. I am worthy of being a teacher's pet, etc., etc.
Yeah, very well said. You know, our words actually becomes their self-belief.
Yeah.
So we have to
Yeah.
be very careful as
Yeah.
parents what
Yeah.
we say to our children. But you also mentioned something which I found very interesting is we say something, but it's how they take it.
Absolutely.
So how do we as parents or educators be mindful of that? Because I maybe said something I did not mean it the way
Yeah.
the person
Yeah.
perceived it or
Yeah.
received it.
Yeah.
How to check that?
So I think, again, something I keep harping about is only and only self-awareness. And self-awareness is not going to come when you're working on or you're living in an autopilot mode, which is,
Yeah.
you wake up in the morning, you get ready, you do your work, you come back, you exercise, and your day ends. It's only going to come with stepping back and reflecting on what did I say? How did I make somebody feel, etc.
Absolutely.
So I think it will come from if partners, if couples, if parents can say, okay, I'm going to be your accountability partner if you give me permission to call out something that you said which is not appropriate, and we kind of support each other. Or then, of course, we can go for parent coaching or parent, how to be good parents, because
Absolutely.
unfortunately,
Yes.
parenting does not come with a manual.
It does not.
And
yes.
whatever you're doing, you're not doing it intentionally.
Absolutely.
It's just the way a parent was brought up. So that's the only
Wonderful.
example that they have. They don't know how to be a parent in any other way.
True. What we've learned as parents or what our
Absolutely.
parents did with us
Yeah.
is what we pass on to our children.
Right.
And I totally believe that parenting is a skill.
Yeah.
You know, it is a skill which can be learned and you can become
Absolutely.
better.
Yes.
We might not just have it and we
Yeah.
do the best we can do, but
Yeah.
there's so many things that can be done
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for raising this issue, because many parents, we are not open to like being taught how to be
Right.
good parents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
one. So if marks only plays one small part in a person's story, Komal, so what are the other qualities that truly shapes a child's future success and happiness?
Yeah. So, something I truly believe is marks are actually pretty insignificant. Yes, marks may get you to choose a stream depending on, what you want to do. They sometimes may get you an admission into a college,
True.
but that's where it begins and that's where it ends.
Absolutely.
It is totally not a proof of your intelligence. It is not a proof of how you're going to apply your knowledge in real life. So other things which are more important. So marks are not important. They are, but it's not the be end and
It's just a
be all.
qualifier,
Yeah, it's
basic
just a
qualifier,
qualifier.
absolutely.
But other things that are really important are one, your communication skills, okay, your capacity and capability to connect with people, build relationships, to actually be who you are, your authentic self in a very fearless way.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I think and also resilience, the ability to try and to know that you're going to fail.
Absolutely.
Not everything that you do is going to, you know, give you a medal or, put you on a pedestal.
Absolutely.
So just knowing that failing is the first stepping stone to success, because unless you're not going to fail and you don't experience what that feels like, you will never appreciate what success feels
And
like.
it's a beautiful thing that you said, because again, you know, in my book there's a chapter which is called Fail Forward.
Okay.
And which is what,
Yeah.
you know, this is exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying
Okay.
is failing is fine. It's a step towards
Yes.
achieving something
Yeah.
good. And I feel, you know, it is just feedback.
Yeah.
Saying, it's just that you have to try something else.
Yes.
And we are so scared of failing that we
Yeah.
would not even try.
Yeah.
People who try are only the ones who will fail.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail.
Yes.
It's not the big demon in the
No,
room, really.
not at
you know.
all. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, thank you for calling that out as well.
Yes.
So many high achieving students look successful on the outside. You know, they seem to be all in control, they know it all, but they struggle with self-doubt internally. And it
Yeah.
happens quite often because I
Yeah.
work with a lot of teenagers.
Yeah.
They are getting a 98%,
Yeah.
but a lot of other matrices
Yeah.
are little hilawa,
Right,
idhar-udhar.
right.
So why does achievement often fail to create that lasting self-worth? Because
Yeah.
we would feel that, oh, top achievers, top
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think so?
So I would again go back to early childhood, okay?
Yes.
It is what you have grown up listening to. If your worth was attached to your marks, then that's what you have learned.
Yes.
And once you learn that, what is a basic, very, very basic need of an infant, of a child in the growing up years is to feel love, to feel heard, to feel wanted.
Yes.
Now, if they've learned that they can feel loved, they can feel wanted, is only by succeeding, that becomes a way of life. So, when you achieve one goal, you're just waiting for the next one. So that, because that one is going to give you external validation, make you feel good about yourself, will give you like a high, but it's not going to last because you're depending on external validation to feel that you're worthy.
True.
So the only way it's going to turn around is when you start internalizing your self-worth, that I am worthy of love,
Wonderful.
irrespective of the medals, the success, the marks.
Yes. Absolutely. So that's where the self-love becomes so
Yes.
important, right?
Yeah.
It's all about happiness is within, not
Yes.
outside.
No.
And another thing that you talked about is what you just said. It all starts with how you were brought up,
Yes.
how we've been as parents. So as parents, we're playing God, literally playing
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So important. I think, actually it should be mandatory. You become a parent, you have to undergo this training to become a parent. Life would be so simple, right? Okay. So that brings us to the next question. How can parents encourage excellence while ensuring their child doesn't develop that belief that love and acceptance must be earned through performance?
Yeah. So I often tell, when I get clients who are talking about that, oh, they're not able to manage their teenager and it's very distressing and all of that. And I kind of ask them to share the conversations with them. Okay, and I think most of us, and we don't realize the weight of labels. So for us, labels is, oh, you've done something wrong, like a bad boy is a label. But even my Raja Beta and my Rani Beti and my princess are extremely stressful labels, because when we're giving those labels to our children, the child feels that now they have to live up to that label in order to be loved.
Wow.
And that's extremely overwhelming for every single child, irrespective of the age that they are. So an alternative or a better way of dealing with your children and what to say is, talk about, appreciate the effort, not the result. That, oh, you've got these marks, but that's because you really worked hard and you worked consistently. And I'm so happy that you were able to put those efforts. Or when they fail, then rather than saying that you should have done that, you will just say that, it's really okay to fail, and, maybe share a story about how you failed in your life and look where you have reached. And had you not failed, you would not have been here. So as long as you gave your best It's really okay if you fail. You can always try again. How would you know that you're good at this or you're not good at it without trying? So if nothing else, it's just an experience.
Beautiful.
How many parents talk to their children in this manner?
Yeah, and actually, this is something new for me also. When you said, when you're saying Raja beta, ya, meri achhi beti.
Yeah.
We didn't realize that we're putting that pressure on them.
We don't.
Yeah,
no
we
one is
don't.
doing this
Yes.
to, hurt children or to.
absolutely. We
You're
do
doing
the
it
best we can.
absolutely out of not being aware.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing is that, yes, we only have actions is all we can control.
Yeah.
So action is what we should be encouraging them on, appreciating those,
Yes.
and not the result and not
Yes.
the outcome.
Yeah.
Because no matter what we do,
Yeah.
they say, neki kar darya mein
Yes,
dal. So
yes.
action is what we
Yeah,
control, not the
yes,
outcome, not the
yes,
results.
yes,
Amazing,
yes.
amazing. That's really nice. I'm really enjoying this conversation because there's so many new things that are coming forth, and we're doing some things unconsciously, and there is as you said, so much of unlearning needs to happen.
Yes.
So
I keep saying learning तो बहुत बात की बात है. First is
पुराने तरीकों को पहले बाहर हमें उससे निकलना पड़ेगा. बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल. So in your experience, what are the limiting beliefs that teenagers commonly carry about success, intelligence, and their future?
Yeah. So, some limiting beliefs are I am not enough. I am not enough comes with when you're constantly judging your own way of being, your own success, your own marks, how you look, how tall you are, how short you are with others, and now you don't even need to get out of your room to feel miserable.
Yeah.
All you need to do is just be on
Open up,
Instagram and it's going to
social
just do its
media,
job.
Oh my God,
Okay,
yes.
so that constant comparison is something which makes one feel that I am not enough, because you always feel that this person's life is better. You believe that they're trying to what they're trying to show is their reality.
Absolutely.
You're not aware that they're showing that part of their life because their real life really sucks, and that's the only way they are getting that validation.
Absolutely,
So that's one. Second is also when there is comparison from other people, like look at your brother, look at your sister, look at this friend, he's so good, and you should spend more time with him, etc., etc. Or when there are where again there are casual comments about sometimes weight, sometimes
True that.
a certain way, and that's what makes you feel that, oh God, if my parents think I am like that, then how am I going to be accepted by the society?
Absolutely.
So I'll only be worthy if I am tall enough, fair enough, intelligent enough, chatty enough, etc.
I know. So, actually, we overlook our own positive points, and we only, because the brain is such that we look at the negatives and we keep comparing. So, there's a beautiful tool that we have in the book, which is called the brag list. We intentionally call this brag list. So, whatever you're good at, list it down. Maybe I'm very good at connecting with people, or I go and feed the strays, and or I am, I help the elders carry their bags from the market, anything, or you talk very well, so whatever you're proud of, or you get compliments on, write it down. So then you realize that, oh, I am enough, I'm good enough, it doesn't matter, and why should I be comparing myself with other people? And when the days you're not feeling great, that's when you get back to that. So you should, I've got my brag list, a brag diary now, and I keep adding on to it. Because I think we all need that.
Absolutely, we do.
Sometimes.
Definitely.
Okay.
I love that. I'm going to, I think I have a brag list, but I'm going to actually title it as my brag list.
Yes, because we know the power of journaling and writing it down. Yes. Okay. So, we already talked about failure. What role, and we've been talking about self-awareness as well. So, what role does self-awareness play in helping a young person become unstuck in their life, from comparisons, from expectations, and also from self-doubt? Because I think these are the three biggest evil masters.
So, firstly, awareness, as simple as it may sound, is not that easy.
It's not that easy.
Right? Because the first step of dealing with our own selves is denial, that, oh no, this is not real, this is not, I'm not for this, I'm not for that, etc. self-awareness can only come sometimes. Of course, therapy is a great space if you're looking for becoming self-aware. But, for teenagers, it can come with spending some time just reflecting on how the day was. Very simple things, that how did someone else make you feel, if you did feel good about something or did not feel good about something. How did you make someone else feel, reflecting on that, what did I say that brightened someone's face, what did I say that suddenly that person isn't talking to me anymore. So self-reflection can lead to self-awareness, and having a safe space to be who you are. So, say if families could create that safe space and say that, hey, tell me about your day, tell me about your friends. And even if something that you hear is not something which you want to hear, not really making a big deal out of it, but trying to understand. So the more a person will feel heard, the more a person will feel understood, they would want to increase that particular behavior. They would want to know more about themselves and be curious about themselves.
Absolutely. So I remember my mentor told me once, he said, there was a time when I was feeling very restless. And of course, when we're on this entrepreneurial journey, you feel overwhelmed at times as well. And he told me, Mansi, just sit with your thoughts. 20 minutes every day, leave everything, just sit with your thoughts. And I found it so difficult. I could not understand. I said, oh, am I just going to sit and do nothing at all? And he said, yes, just nothing at all. Under a tree, next to a stream, pool, whatever, pond, lie down, don't do anything. And it was so difficult for me. But then, now I enjoy that. If I'm, waking up early in the morning, when I just sit with myself, or maybe with a cup of coffee, not doing anything is amazing. We think multitasking is, you're a superhuman. But no, it's a myth. You should not be. And we're so scared of sitting with our thoughts, we don't want to be alone with our thoughts. But it's a game changer. It's so true, what you talked about, introspection.
Yes.
Okay, so are you ready for a rapid fire round?
Oh, yes.
All
Bring it on.
Okay, lovely. So happiness or success?
Definitely happiness. Success is, it comes and it goes, but happiness is an internal state.
Absolutely. Logic or intuition?
Intuition, but with logic as well.
Wonderful. That's like a good one. Meditation or music?
For me, music is meditation.
Beautifully said. Books or podcasts?
Books, for sure, my first love, but podcasts, definitely something I enjoy.
Wonderful. One word that describes today's teenagers?
I think evolving.
Yes, that they are, for sure. One word that describes resilience?
The ability to adapt to any situation.
Absolutely, and bounce back. Absolutely. A habit that changed your life?
Intentional self-reflection.
Wonderful, beautifully said. One myth about mental health that you'd like to break?
That if I'm going for therapy, I am weak. Believe me, it's an act of courage and not of cowardice.
Oh, definitely courage. A book everyone should read?
So my favorite, and I'm reading it currently, is Body Keeps the Score. Your Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. It's a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book. And that also brings me to that thing where you said the body manifests. And it's always the body manifests last. So there's something happening, and that's what. And this book is beautiful. It's a really thick book.
Yes,
so I'm yet to finish it, but I started.
It's a thick, heavy book.
It's a beautiful book, but yes. And, I'd also like to ask you, what advice would you give to teenagers who feel lost, confused, or pressured to fit into the society's definition of success?
So firstly, if you're listening to me, I just want to tell you that you are whole and complete just the way you are. And you are totally worthy of love. Okay? So just believe in that. Just start with that. And what I would want to say is, that please stop comparing yourselves with others. There could be someone who is good at music. There could be someone who's good at math. There could be someone who's good with that. We have 5 fingers and none of them are equal. So that's what makes us unique. So, celebrate your uniqueness. Celebrate who you are. And, the minute you choose yourself, you love yourself, you're going to find love outside.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's so beautifully said. And you know, this example of five fingers,
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we're doing counseling for children,
Yeah.
I'm a career counselor,
Yeah.
and we do we use the psychometric assessments where there is one tool where we assess their multiple intelligences.
Yes. Yeah.
So a child, somebody is very good at logic,
Yeah.
somebody is very good in
True.
numbers, somebody is good in language, the others are good in maybe visualization
Yes.
or their spatial
Yeah.
abilities.
Yes.
Not everybody, there's nobody I've seen who's good in all of them.
Yeah,
There's a
totally.
mix of things. So why compare? Because if you're telling an elephant तुम तैर कर दिखाओ, वो कैसे तैरेगा?
Correct.
वो तो नहीं
True,
तैर सकता,
true.
पूरी जिंदगी लगा
Yeah.
देगा, but वो कभी
Yeah.
तैर ही नहीं पाएगा. So you play with your strengths and not with other people. Yes. Lovely. Thank you so much, Komal. And one last question: how has your experience been with the podcast Beyond Marks?
Oh, so it's been really great. I think what you're doing through this podcast is very meaningful work, and you're changing lives. And I think changing lives is the best gift that you could give back to this society, to this universe. And it's very specific to teenagers and to youngsters, because they are going to be the future of tomorrow. And why not catch them young and just play a role in molding them? Because
absolutely, thank you so much. And it all starts with a conversation. Starting a dialogue. There's so many things that you talked about today which would impact a lot of people. I'm sure it has so much power. It would create a lot of value in many people's life. Thank you so much, Komal,
Thank
for
you,
being
Mansi.
here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing conversation.
Yes, for me too.
All right, thank you so much.